reminding you that you got this. Have you worked all your life to try and get to a point where you're financially secure, your career secure, family life is going great, you're years away from retirement, only to have the rug pulled out completely from you? Well, that happened to me, and I'm here to tell you, you are not alone, and I want you to know the healing that has happened from me and where we go in life after 50 when this just all of a sudden just changes our entire world. First thing is that you tend to go through the stages of grief. What did I do? I could have done this. And if you haven't looked up the stages of grief, I highly encourage you to do that because it really did help me. You know, when we get to a certain age, it's not necessarily something that we did with our jobs or something we did wrong. Sometimes it's just the fact that because we've been there for a long time, such as myself, I was there 8 years. You maybe have been there even longer. But we almost work ourselves out of a position because we are top earners, because when you have raises year after year, it kind of pushes you into that upper threshold that companies really don't like to have to pay. And the reality is that if they can get rid of you, then they can probably hire somebody else in there a little bit less money or a lot less money, maybe even straight out of college. And in my case, I live in a college town, and there's college kids coming out every year that are entering the workforce that by lower wages we can't compete with when we're in our 50s or even our 60s. And if this is you I'm speaking to, please hear me and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, as I'll give you more life advice. So some of the things that actually helped me were realizing that it wasn't me, and realizing that there was a plan in place long before I even saw it coming. I saw hints of it, but when you've been at a company for so long, sometimes you have to second guess and ask yourself, is this all in my head? Do I see them pushing me out the door? But I want you guys to know that there is life after that. And what really helped me was sitting back and realizing that in the last several months of my employment, I really wasn't happy. I was looking for something else. But I don't know that I was pushing hard enough because, again, I kept questioning, am I just making this stuff up all in my head? But the reality soon came true. And after I was pushed out the door, there was that remorse. As I said before, there's that grieving period. But I had to go back to, you wouldn't have been happy if you were still there. All you're grieving right now is just the fact that you no longer have the control that you used to have. You used to have a plan. I was going to do this as soon as I retire. We were going to do work all the way up to 65, and then we were going to do this. And then all of a sudden things change so quickly, you have to almost rethink everything that you had planned. And my wife has been a great support system for me. This is just something that's brand new to us. It's a brand new season. And I want you guys to know that when it comes to reapplying for jobs, sometimes it changes your entire outlook of what you want. When you're younger, you are fighting to try and get to the top of a company. You want to make all the money, you want to be the manager, you want to be the person who helps make all those deep decisions. But as soon as something like this happens, you almost sit back and say, you know, I don't even want that anymore. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of that ruthless path. I just want to be somebody who goes to work every day, that enjoys my work, and that I can actually contribute something of value to a company and not have to sit back and worry about the responsibilities that I have as a department lead or a manager that everybody else is striving for. It almost makes you really, really rethink what you want. And you step back and you look at those people who are fighting their way to the top, and now you find yourself just getting out of the way and saying, you can have it. I don't want it anymore, because you know what it's like at the top. And it can be very, very cruel. It can be very, very ruthless. But I'm here to tell you that the path, even though it forked and you were going to go right, that left is probably better for you than right. In looking at the future for myself, being over 50 and trying to figure out what life has planned for me, you know, relaxing and not worrying about it is probably the best thing. Worrying has never done me any good in my entire life. And I'm not saying that I haven't been a part of worrying. But if we sit back and we realize that all the times in our lives that we've ever worried, how many of those things have actually come to pass? Very, very few of them have actually come to pass. And worrying is something that you can't even control anyway. So I'm in uncharted territory. I wake up every day, I have my cup of coffee. And do I worry from time to time? A lot less than I did when this first happened. And as we get older, we have different perspectives on why things happened. Maybe our perspectives are faith-based. Maybe they are based around what our own abilities are. But the biggest issue that we all deal with is pride. And with pride, a lot of times the job that we have tends to define who we are. And when you lose that side of you, you sit back and you have to ask yourself, who am I? And I know I went through that, and I think I'm in a great place now that I don't necessarily need to define myself. I just need to do what makes me happy and not worry about the negativity that happened and put it all behind me and move forward. Some of the things that really helped me, just getting out and going for a walk and just gathering my thoughts, trying to stay busy, working in the yard, find a new perspective. And who knows, guys, maybe you're lucky like me. Maybe you have some income setting aside that are going to sustain you, but you don't have to really worry as much as what you thought you were going to have to be. And maybe this was in the path all along. You just didn't have the guts to take that step forward and go out on your own and know that everything's going to be all right. Fear keeps us from 90% of what we have what we try to go through in our lives, or fear keeps us from taking that step forward a lot of times. Once you get past that fear and karma happens where all of a sudden you're thrust into it, be careful what you wish for, because now you're in the middle of it, and what are you going to do next? And it gets tougher for us when we get older to actually turn around and find another job, as I said earlier. So what are you going to do with the remaining working years before retirement? Maybe you just want to go ahead and retire. Maybe you want to find some source of other income. Maybe you just want to relax, live off of the money that you have saved up, and find a side venture that's going to keep you busy. But I'm here to tell you guys, it is freedom from fear that is so strong. Freedom from the fear that tomorrow may be the day that you lose your job. The fear that maybe they're pushing me out the door. It is not healthy, both physically and mentally. And sometimes we have to look at our blessings and say they didn't come the way that I thought they were going to come. But life hands you things that are unexpected. John Lennon once said, "Life is what happens while you make other plans." And that is so true. We forge forward with the best of intentions on what we think our lives are going to look like and what we want to do. But in the end, it's not always what we had planned. And if you believe in a higher power like I do, there's always a plan in place for your life. And I encourage you to be careful when that path is forked and you're looking right and you should be looking left. We're always guilty of that because right seems like the path of least resistance. Left may be a little bit more of a rocky path, but I guarantee you if left is where you're supposed to go, it's not as rocky as what you think. So if you're going through something similar like this, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and comment below what your situation is. Maybe we can console each other and we can have a very good conversation. But guys, I thank you for listening to me and knowing that you're not alone, that over 50 can be the greatest years of your life, but it can also throw you some curveballs that you're not always expecting. So take care.